The Walls That Watch. Before we dive into this one, hit that subscribe button if you dare, because what you're about to hear, once you know it, you'll never unhear. The clock on the wall read 3:47 a.m. when the sirens began to wail inside San Quentin State Prison. The night guards jolted from their posts as the emergency lights flickered on, bathing the cold concrete halls in a deep, pulsing blue glow. In cell block C, inmates were already shouting, some from panic, some from excitement. Something had happened. Something big. By the time Sergeant Ryan Cole reached the upper tier, the smell of iron and disinfectant had thickened the air. A correctional officer stood frozen outside a cell, his flashlight trembling in his hand. Inside, on the narrow bunk, an inmate lay perfectly still, eyes open, mouth slightly ajar, but there wasn't a single wound on his body. Cole stepped closer. The man was Marcus Red Halston, serving life, without parole for a string of armed robberies. But this wasn't a fight or a suicide. There was no blood, no sign of struggle. Only a strange, blue-tinted residue smeared along the wall near his bed. "What the hell is that?" Cole muttered. No one answered. Moments later, the prison's warden, Evelyn Price, arrived. She was calm but pale. "Seal the block. No one in or out until we know what happened." By dawn, San Quentin had turned into a fortress within a fortress. Every door was locked, every camera reviewed. But what they saw on the security footage made no sense. At 3:41 a.m., Red Halston had been sitting on his bunk, staring toward the cell bars. Then, suddenly, he flinched, looked toward the door, and whispered something. There was no one there. No sound. No shadow. But then, he froze, completely motionless, for 32 seconds before collapsing. Cole rewound it 5 times. Each time it looked the same. He wasn't scared, he said softly. He was listening to someone. Warden Price frowned. Someone who wasn't there. That morning, the official report called it a cardiac event. But everyone inside the prison knew better. Rumors spread fast. Inmates whispered that the walls were listening again, that San Quentin was taking back those who didn't belong.
Cole didn't buy it.
He'd seen too many staged suicides, too many drug overdoses. But when the toxicology report came back, things got stranger. There were no drugs, no signs of poisoning, no cardiac failure. His body temperature, however, had dropped nearly 10 degrees lower than normal. That same week, 2 more inmates died. Same pattern. Same hour of night. Same blue smear. The press got wind of it, calling it the San Quentin sleep plague. But inside it was chaos. The guards started working in pairs. The inmates refused to sleep. The warden called an FBI consultant, Dr. Lena Hart, a behavioral scientist who specialized in criminal psychology. Lena was sharp, methodical, and unafraid of shadows, at least, that's what she told herself. When she first stepped into cell block C, she could feel it, the tension, the silence that pressed against her skin. "This place hums," she said under her breath. "Like it's alive." She interviewed inmates, guards, anyone who might have seen something. One inmate, a soft-spoken man named Jorge Medina, said something that stuck with her. "It starts with a noise," he whispered. "You hear it when the lights go out. A hum in the pipes. Then a voice in your ear, telling you to remember what you did." When Lena asked what he meant, he just looked away. "San Quentin, don't forget. It makes you remember." By the end of the week, Lena was convinced that something deeper was happening, psychological, maybe chemical. She requested full access to maintenance tunnels beneath the prison. But when she and Cole descended into the lower levels, they found themselves standing before a section of wall sealed with new concrete, the kind that didn't match the old foundation. Cole ran his gloved hand across it. This wasn't here in the blueprints. Lena leaned closer. Embedded in the concrete was a small metal plaque, half covered in dust. She brushed it clean, revealing faded letters. "In memory of those who never left." Cole stared. "What is this?" Lena didn't answer right away. Her flashlight beam slid down to the floor, and that's when she saw it. Faint footprints, leading into the wall. Not away. Suddenly, the hum Medina had described began to echo faintly through the pipes above them. Low, rhythmic, almost human. Cole stiffened. "You hear that?" Lena nodded slowly. "Yeah. I think we're standing right above where it starts." That night, the power in cell block C went out for exactly 7 minutes. When it came back on, another inmate was dead, eyes open, blue stain on the wall, heart completely still. This time, the camera footage cut out just before it happened. Cole slammed his fist against the console. Someone's tampering with the system. But when they checked the server room, every access log had been wiped clean. Lena stared at the blank screens, her voice barely above a whisper. "Whoever's doing this, they're not trying to hide it anymore." Cole looked at her. "Then what are they trying to do?" She hesitated. "They're trying to send a message." The hidden corridor. The sun rose behind San Quentin's gray walls, but the light never truly reached inside. The fog rolled off the bay, crawling across the yard like smoke from something burning. The air was heavy, the kind that made men quiet, even the ones who weren't afraid of anything. By morning, for inmates were dead, each found the same way, eyes open, pulse gone, blue residue smeared on the wall. The media was circling like vultures, helicopters buzzing overhead, anchors repeating the same phrase, a string of unexplained deaths inside one of America's most notorious prisons. Inside, Sergeant Cole hadn't slept in 2 days. His uniform was creased, his jaw tight. "We're missing something," he told Dr. Lena Hart, pacing the investigation room. These guys weren't connected. Different cell blocks. Different histories. Lena sat across from him, flipping through autopsy photos. "Except one thing," she said quietly. "Every death happened within 100 feet of that sealed corridor underground." Cole frowned. "You're saying the deaths are radiating out from that spot?" "I'm saying," she replied, "whatever's down there, it's not done." The warden, Evelyn Price, wasn't thrilled about reopening a sealed section of her prison. "That tunnel's been closed since the 70s, she told them. "Gas leak, foundation damage, maybe worse. The state didn't want to pay to fix it." Lena wasn't buying it. "Or they wanted to bury something," she said. That night, without authorization, Lena and Cole went down themselves, 2 flashlights, 1 crowbar, and a file full of unanswered questions. The tunnels were silent except for the drip of water and the hum of distant generators. Every sound echoed like footsteps behind them. When they reached the sealed wall again, Cole took a deep breath and swung the crowbar. The concrete cracked, dust filling the air. A second strike, and a hollow sound followed. "There's space behind it," Cole said. "Help me." They pried away chunks until a gap formed wide enough for a light. Lena aimed her flashlight inside and froze. On the other side was a long corridor, lined with dozens of metal doors, each marked with a number, each one rusted but intact. It wasn't on any map. It wasn't supposed to exist. Cole's voice dropped. "What the hell is this place?" Lena stepped through the opening, brushing past cobwebs and stale air. The corridor stretched for nearly 50 yards, vanishing into darkness. She aimed her light toward one of the doors, C-19, and saw something that made her blood run cold. Carved into the metal, barely visible, were names. Dozens of them. She traced her fingers over the first one. Marcus Halston. "Cole," she whispered. "They're all here. Every inmate who's died this month." But that was impossible. The walls were decades old. Cole took out his phone to snap a photo, and that's when his flashlight flickered. The hum in the pipes above them grew louder, deeper. Then came something else, a sound like breathing, from behind one of the doors. Lena turned sharply. "Did you hear?" Before she could finish, the handle on door 22 moved. Just once. They both froze. Cole aimed his light at it, pulse hammering in his throat. The breathing stopped. Then, in the silence, a voice, faint, male, low. "You shouldn't be here." Cole stumbled back, flashlight shaking. "Who's there? Identify yourself." No response. He tried the door. Locked. He hit it with the crowbar, once, twice, until it gave. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a small isolation cell, bare except for a metal chair and chains bolted to the floor. But on the wall, the the same blue residue.
Thick. Fresh.
Lena leaned closer and noticed a thin cable running up through the ceiling. It wasn't old wiring, it was new.
Cole, she said.
Someone's been here. Recently. They followed the wire down the hall, past more cells, each one containing the same blue streaks, some smeared into shapes that looked almost like fingerprints. Finally, they reached the end, a metal maintenance cabinet. Cole yanked it open. Inside was a modern surveillance terminal, active, blinking. Dozens of live camera feeds filled the screens, each showing different parts of San Quentin. But one stood out, cell block C, Red Halston's old cell. The camera panned on its own, slowly focusing on the wall where he had died. Then, a voice came through the speaker, calm, almost gentle. "You're getting close." Lena's eyes widened. "Who is this?"
Static.
Then the same voice, this time with an edge. "Leave it sealed." And then, all the screens went black. Cole slammed his fist against the monitor. Somebody's running an entire surveillance system under the prison. How is that even possible? Lena's voice trembled. "They're not just watching the inmates, Cole. They're watching us." By morning, Warden Price had ordered the tunnels sealed again, claiming structural risk. Lena and Cole were pulled from the case. But Lena couldn't let it go. She stayed late in her office that night, staring at one of the confiscated photos of the corridor.
Her computer pinged.
New email. No sender. No subject. She hesitated, then opened it. There was only one attachment, a video file. It began with static, then showed live footage, her office.
Right now.
Her sitting there, staring at the screen. The camera was inside the room. Her hand shook as she reached for her phone, but before she could dial, the lights flickered and the same hum filled the air. The screen went black, replaced by a line of text. "We never sleep." That same night, a fifth inmate died, again at 3:41 a.m. The blue smear stretched across half his cell wall this time, forming what looked eerily like words. Cole arrived before dawn. He stared at the mark, jaw tight, heart pounding. The letters spelled, "Help US." He turned to Lena. "I think they're trying to tell us something." She nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "Or warn us." The prison that never sleeps. The next night, San Quentin didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a trap. The fluorescent lights flickered in perfect rhythm. The corridors hummed with the same low vibration they'd heard in the hidden tunnel, and the cameras, once motionless, now seemed to follow whoever passed beneath them. Sergeant Cole hadn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice carried that edge of obsession that made even hardened guards nervous. "Every death, every blue mark, every damn noise, it all leads back to that tunnel," he told Lena. "But the wardens locked us out." Lena leaned over her cluttered desk, whispering, "Not for long." She had managed to clone a fragment of the data from the hidden surveillance terminal before it went dark. Inside, she found encrypted files labeled with single initials, RH, DS, MC, names matching the deceased inmates. And one more EP. Evelyn Price. The warden. Lena stared at the screen. "Cole, she's been in this system the whole time." Cole's jaw tightened. "Then we're going back down there tonight. With or without permission." At 2:30 a.m., the fog swallowed the prison yard again. They slipped through maintenance access 4, flashlights dimmed, boots quiet. The air was colder than before, as if the building itself had exhaled. Cole led the way with his flashlight low. "Whatever's down here, it's not ghosts. Someone's running an operation. Cameras, data, surveillance, there's a reason they kept this buried." When they reached the sealed corridor, they found the concrete wall already broken open. The gap was wider, fresh dust on the floor. Lena whispered, "Someone beat us here." Inside, the lights were still off, but faint blue glows pulsed under the doors, one by one. The same blue residue, alive somehow, vibrating faintly. Cole raised his weapon and stepped forward. "Hello." His voice echoed down the long hallway. A noise answered, the clink of a chain dragging. Then another. They followed it to cell 22, the one they'd broken open days before. The metal chair was overturned. The walls were streaked with that glowing blue again, but this time, it wasn't just smeared.
It was written.
Still watching, Lena's stomach nodded. This isn't residue. It's paint. Someone's marking these. Cole turned sharply, to scare us off. Before she could respond, a sharp click echoed behind them, the sound of a safety latch. They spun around, flashlight sweeping. Standing at the far end of the corridor, framed in shadow, was Warden Evelyn Price. Her face was half lit by the flashlight she held, the other half lost in darkness. "You weren't supposed to see this," she said quietly. Cole's voice hardened. "What is this place? Why are you watching the inmates? What are you hiding down here?" Evelyn stepped closer, her shoes echoing on the concrete. This tunnel was built during the expansion in 1959. It wasn't a maintenance area. It was a behavioral experiment. Solitary confinement taken to extremes. The prisoners were monitored 24/7 through cameras and sound systems. They wanted to see how long a human mind could last without real contact. Lena's voice trembled. "You mean they tortured them?" Evelyn's eyes glinted. "We called it research, but it got out of control. The men broke, started scratching messages on the walls, smearing the paint they used for maintenance. That's what you've been calling residue." Cole's jaw clenched. "And the deaths. That blue mark keeps showing up because—" Evelyn's voice cracked, almost a whisper. "Because they weren't supposed to stop watching. The system never shut down. Something, turned it back on." A low hum rolled through the corridor again, louder than before. The lights flickered violently, the air pressure dropping. The terminal in the cabinet rebooted, its screens lighting up with camera feeds across the prison. Lena stepped toward it, scanning the monitors. "Cole, look." Every feed showed the same thing. Inmates sleeping in their cells, motionless. But every few seconds, a shape appeared beside one of them. A dark silhouette, blurry, there and gone again. Cole's voice dropped to a whisper. "What the hell is that?" The speakers crackled.
Static.
Then a voice, the same one they'd heard before. "We see you." Evelyn's flashlight flickered. She turned, panicked. "It's them. The system's not responding. It's running itself." On one of the monitors, they watched as the camera inside Evelyn's office turned on by itself, showing her desk, her chair, and a live feed of them standing in the tunnel right now. Cole stepped forward. "This isn't possible. Who's controlling this?" The voice answered again, calm, almost human. "You are." Then, one by one, the names on the screen began to change. The initials RH, DS, MC, each replaced by new ones. CW, Cole Wyatt. LH, Lena Hart. EP, Evelyn Price. Lena's breath caught. "It's adding us to the list." The corridor lights went out. Total blackness. Only the monitors glowed, casting cold blue light on their faces. Evelyn backed away, her voice shaking. "We have to get out.
Now."
But when they turned, the tunnel entrance was gone, sealed again, solid concrete. Cole slammed his fists against it. No. It was open. Lena turned to the screens again, horror dawning on her face. The camera feeds were now showing only one view, the corridor itself.
Thumb.
From above, as if the entire room was watching. Then, the final feed appeared, time-stamped live, 3:41 a.m. The same time every death had occurred. The hum rose into a deafening roar. Lena screamed, "Cole! The system's locking." The lights exploded in a flash. When the authorities arrived hours later, the tunnel was sealed tight again, concrete hard as stone. The maintenance logs showed no record of anyone entering that night. The surveillance system was wiped clean, no footage, no data, no trace. 3 personnel were reported missing: Sergeant Cole Wyatt, Dr. Lena Hart, and Warden Evelyn Price. Their offices were left untouched, except for one thing. On each desk, written in blue marker, the same phrase appeared: "The prison never sleeps." Weeks later, a new security contractor began upgrading San Quentin's monitoring network. While calibrating the cameras, one technician noticed an unauthorized live feed labeled Tunnel_22. He opened it out of curiosity. The screen showed a dim corridor underground. 3 figures stood there, motionless in the dark. 1 man, 2 women, staring straight into the camera. The technician laughed nervously. "Must be old footage," he said. But then, one of the figures blinked. The feed went black. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, stay tuned, and remember, some prisons never close their eyes.